Bring it back.
Boom! What is up, Inside Out? How are we doing tonight? Awesome, that's what I love to hear. Well, hey, my name's Audrey, and if we haven't had the chance to meet, and it's your first time here, or you've been coming for a while, or you're tuning in with us online, I just want to give you a huge Inside Out welcome. You guys picked the perfect Sunday to be here because we have a lot of fun going on tonight. First, we're going to play a really fun game, and then I've got a couple exciting announcements, and then my friend Jeremy Edelin will be up here for part 2 of our series, Influencer. But before we dive into all that, you guys should have picked up a raffle ticket on your way here. So we're going to kick off with a fun little raffle. So everyone go ahead and stand on up. And if I can get Evan Moyer to bring me the raffle bucket. Oh, Alex, thank you so much. We've got our raffle tickets up here. All right, are we ready? Our lucky winner who wins a cookie cake for them in their small group is 9, 4. I'm just kidding. Stand up. 9, 2, 9, 7. Oh, that took some people out. 1, 6. Oh, yeah. Congratulations. What is your name?
Charlie.
Congratulations. Here is a cookie cake for you in our small group. Enjoy. You can keep that. Awesome. Well, the fun is not over. We still have an awesome game. So I need 4 volunteers, 1 from each grade. Bennett, I saw your hand up. You want to come on up? Oh, bring your small group leader with you. Bring your small group leader with you. You want to come on up? I need one more volunteer. Emily? Emily in the back? I think we got Emily. I'm sorry. Bring a small group leader on up with you. Oh, yeah. Howdy. Super exciting. You guys can come on up. Come join me on over on this side of the table. All right, you guys can come on and stand up here. All respect for everybody. All right, I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves in your grade, and then small group leaders, I'll have you guys introduce yourselves too. So we'll start back here.
Summer. I'm London.
I'm Reagan.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Bennett. Josh.
I'm Emily.
Jordan. Awesome. So these are our contestants. So small group leaders, I'm going to have you guys stand on this side of the table. And you guys are going to be our cheerleaders, if you will. And for the rest of you, we're going to be playing a game called Right or Pie. And so what's going to happen is you guys are going to pick a lane here. This is going to be kind of your lane. And I'm going to give you guys a whiteboard and a marker in a second. And you guys are going to have a chance to answer all these trivia questions about pie, because why not, you know? And if you get the question right, then you're going to stay where you are. If you get it wrong, you're going to take a step forward to the next level. And if you get 3 wrong answers, you're going to come on over here, and your small group leader gets to pie you in the face. Oh, yeah. So take a marker. Small group leaders, we have plates and whipped cream for when they're getting close. Go ahead and grab a whiteboard. Oh, yeah. So get your pie knowledge out. Let's take a look at that first question. Approximately how much do Americans spend on supermarket pies each year? A, B, C, or D? Go ahead and make some noise if someone from your small group is up here. You get to choose which you guys think is the right answer. Choose carefully, because 1 wrong question gets you closer to a pie in the face. All right, let's take a look at that correct answer. B, let's see your guys' answers. So if you didn't guess B, take a step forward. Let's take a look at our next question. What portion of Americans admit to having eaten an entire pie by themselves? Is it A, B, C, or D? What do we think in the audience? C. We're thinking some C's. Our contestants are a little scared up here. All right, let's take a look at the right answer. B, let's see those answers. Okay, if you didn't put B, Bennett, no. If you didn't put B, go ahead and take a step forward. One more wrong answer, you two, and then you get a pie in the face. All right, next question. Which of the following delicious fats is thought to maximize a pie's crust's flakiness? Don't even know what that means. Is it A, duck fat, B, beef tallow, C, vegetable shortening, or D, butter? Josh, I think you might want to get a plate of whipped cream ready for Bennett. Let's see that answer. Bennett, no. D. Bennett put C. That's not even a right D. Let's see what you guys put. C, D. What was it? D? D? Okay, you guys all say. Bennett, let's take a step forward and make our way over here to Josh. Oh, yeah. Bennett's again. Right in the face. Go ahead and take her. Bennett, let's face the audience so they can see that for you. Oh, yeah. I think this is a win for the small group leaders here. I've got paper towels right here. That's about it. All right. We've got it. Good one. Good. Delicious. Bennett, unfortunately, you are out. I'm so sorry. But thank you for playing. All right, let's take a look at our next question. For the rest of you who are still in, which person has not been the victim of a public pieing? So Bennett was just a victim of a public pieing, but that's okay. One of these people on here is not. Is it A, B, C, or D? Let's write down our answers and show them to the audience. All right. Emily, what are we thinking? All right, let's show the audience. What's the correct answer? B. All right, if you two ladies will make your way over here. You are our winner, but let them get pied first. Delicious. I'll take your guys' whiteboards, actually. And your markers. Now let's have her face the audience. All right, let's go for it. Yep, here she goes. 3, 2, 1. Yum. Emily's next. This is disgusting. You've got it, Emily. I believe in you. If it makes you feel better, you can have the plate when we're done. All right, let's give her a little countdown. In 3, 2, 1. Delicious. That was delicious. If you would like to come on up here, if you'd like to tell us your name one more.
London.
Well, congratulations, London. You get to win a card to Crumble. Don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a brand new cookie place in Georgetown. I'm so sorry. Congratulations to our winner. And thank you for everyone for playing. I'm very sorry. You got your plate of whipped cream. If anyone would like their plate of whipped cream back, you guys can go ahead and have that. Well, that was pretty fun. Don't know about you guys. But like I said, before Jeremy comes up here, I've got a couple announcements for you guys. Camp 75 registration is open, and you can register now at camp75.org. Here are our dates for boot camp at Camp 75, the best 2 weeks of the summer, so I better see you all there. If you guys have 7 days left of early bird registration, because next week prices are going back up, so register now. Last announcement is we launched brand new merch last week out in the foyer, and so next week we'll be back with our merch. We've got some crew necks, some t-shirts, and some stickers left for you guys, so make sure to check those out next week if you didn't get any last week. Well, that is all I have for you guys. Take a look at this video, and Jeremy Edelin will be up for part 2 of our series, Influencer.
What's up, Inside Out? How are you guys doing? Wow, like 4 of you are excited to be here. How you guys doing? Like 5 of you. Okay, all right, well, we're gonna get there. I just want to say welcome again. I'm so pumped that you guys are here. My name is Jeremy, and if it's your very first time again, special shout out to you. I'm excited to be here for part 2 of Influencers, and the reason I'm really excited about this is I really feel like I get to talk about one of my favorite things today. And as I was kind of thinking about this message and preparing this week, it made me think about the influencers that I've experienced in my life. And there have been a ton of influences in my life, but one of the most significant, I can honestly say, was my small group leader. I was a part of InsideOut 10 years ago, and my small group leader is still a part of my life today. And his name is Jeff Brown, and I want to show you a picture of him. This is Jeff, and kind of a goofy picture. He's a runner. He does these like crazy races, and I'm going to get back to that in just a second. But that's Jeff, and Jeff has been on the other side of me in so many incredible moments, struggles I've been going on in life, celebrations I've had. Jeff has been through all of it, and I'm so thankful for his influence in my life. But last year, during COVID, there was a specific thing that happened that was kind of a smaller influencing point that kind of surprised me on the other side of Jeff. You see, when COVID hit, all the gyms closed. And when the gyms closed, I realized I couldn't go to the gym and do one of my favorite things, a workout. And so I was really left to go like, okay, maybe I'm going to try this whole thing called running. Are there any runners out there? You're like, yeah, I'm a runner. People who don't want to raise their hand, but it's somebody over there who's a runner. Anybody else a runner? Kind of, sort of. You're like, I don't want to admit it. Like, I kind of run. So I would be in the same boat as you. I don't know if you guys can tell. I feel like I make a short joke every time I'm up here, but it's just true. Like, I don't think I was created to run. Like, I'm 5'5", maybe 5'6" on a good day. And honestly, like, I don't think I was created to run because I just kind of get this, like, short kid thing going every time I do. But when COVID hit, I was like, okay, I'm going to give this running thing a try. And so Jeff, he texted me, him being the runner that he was, he texted me and Jordan Geist, who's associate pastor here at North Point, used to be Inside Out director, and he texted Jeremy Geist as well, who's also a small group leader here. And he said, hey guys, I have this idea. I want you to join me on this race. Now all the races were canceled, so it was more like a virtual race. And it was one of those races where you kind of add up your total mileage over a period of time to equal like the amount of distance that you're going for. And this race was called the Race Across Texas. And so if you look at Texas, it was essentially adding up the total mileage from this side of the state all the way over here. It was 879 miles. And you had from July to December of last year to accumulate the total amount of distance just by running, throughout the day, throughout the week, the total amount of distance, 879 miles. And Jeff texted us and he challenged us. We're like, awesome, this sounds great. It sounds like a challenge. And then he said, but I think you guys probably can't do all of it. And so you 3 can team up together, and the 3 of you can accumulate that distance, and I'm going to do it by myself. And Jeff is like 51 years old, and that's like, sorry, small group leaders, that's like really old, right? And you small group leaders don't like me right now, but that's Jeff. And so, we were getting challenged. We're all in our early to mid 20s, and to accumulate 879 miles. And he said, you know what? And I'll go against you guys by myself. And so there was this like sense of pride, like we must defeat him, like we must destroy Jeff throughout this race. And so we kind of take off on this race, and we're like, neck and neck, and weeks are going by. And there was one night when Jeff turned 51, and he does what any normal person does on their 51st birthday. He decides, I'm going to run the amount of miles that I am turning. And so he decides, I'm going to start running at 10 p.m., and I'm just going to run until I can't run anymore. And he got to like 45 at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and he stopped running. And it was like, oh, that's what normal people do when they turn a certain age, I guess. But this is what we were up against, to give you an idea. And so, it gets to about October, and we finally said, you know what, we cannot be beat by this old man. And so we like put it in high gear, and we went ahead, and we actually beat him finally. But it was scary there for a minute because I totally thought Jeff was going to beat us. But the reason I share that is because through that experience, I discovered that I actually kind of like to run. I was very surprised. Like when you take away, you're just running for distance and you take away the pace and all these other things and you just enjoy it. Like running is actually really enjoyable. And then back in December when the race was done and I was trying to figure out, okay, what's next for me? I just did this thing with my friends. What's next for me? I did what we always do when we find something exciting. We go for like the biggest audacious goal possible. And so when I was going through my goals in December and I have this like nerdy list of life goals, I added a new one to my list, and it's a little bit scary to share it publicly, but I want to run an ultra trail marathon, which is like above a marathon, I guess. I don't even know. I just wrote it down. But it's like 31 miles, I think, 50, and then 100 after that. I want to run an ultra trail marathon. And to be honest, like it's scary to share this publicly because I don't know if I can do it. And I'm a little bit freaked out. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Like maybe a quarter of a marathon would be a good place to start, and then a half, and then I don't even know. But the reason I share that is because I think probably y'all can relate with me. You have an experience maybe in your life, and something impacts you in a certain way where you're going, I want to make that like a dream in my life. And so we set these big, giant goals, but then oftentimes, like I've experienced, it can be difficult to figure out where to start and how to kind of begin the journey. Because we all have dreams in our life, right? We all have dreams, hopes, desires, goals, things that we perhaps want to influence. That's the name of our series. I think that, every single person in here is an influencer. You all have influence in some area of our life, but as we think about our goals, our dreams, our hopes, it can be difficult sometimes to discover where am I going to start to influence these things that I someday want to accomplish. And here's a sobering reality that I think is just true for all of us. If you have dreams as it relates to your career, to your sports, to your school, to your extracurriculars, to just friends and family, whatever it might be, what you want to be when you graduate, what college you want to go to, wherever you are, it can be difficult to know where to start. And not only this, but as we think about our influence that we have to give to our dreams and our hopes and our desires, this sobering reality that's true for all of us is that you can't give what you don't have. You can't give influence to either other people or yourself and your dreams if you don't first have it to begin with. You can't give what you don't have. Raise your hand in here if you've ever been hangry before. Yeah, the hands like slowly came up, like you guys were slowly confessing. Yeah, I think we've all been hangry. And what happens when raise your hand if you're hangry right now, by the way. Yeah, a few of you. You guys are like so mad you're not even going to raise your hand. Like I'm not even going to give him the benefit, right? But this is what happens when we're hangry. We like lose control. We lose sight of like having conversations with people, processing life until we get our next meal, right? Because essentially we don't have fuel in us to give to anything else. And the same is true with influence in our life. I want to use this illustration to kind of bring it to light. We all have kind of a limited jar of influence in our life. And, we might look at other people, like, fill in the blank with your favorite celebrity or your idol or whatever it might be, whether it's Tom Brady, Elon Musk, maybe you're Steve Jobs, nerd like me, I love Steve Jobs, whatever it might be. We think oftentimes that they have like this unlimited influence, and it's true, they do have a lot of influence, but every single person in here and every single person that's ever lived has lived and breathed and eaten and slept within the same 24-hour time period in your life. And what that means is we all have a limited amount of influence to give. But we go throughout our life and we pour out influence into different areas. Let's hope this goes well. We pour out influence into our hopes, our dreams, our desires. We pour out influence into the people around us, right? Let's get this one closer. This is a tall table. And we pour out influence into our hopes and with our sports or school or whatever else might be, other aspects of our life. We pour out influence, and then what we find is we run out of influence. And we've all experienced this before in some aspect. And if we don't learn what it looks like to fill up our influence jar again, we eventually run out of something to give because you can't give what you don't have. And so today what I want to unpack is something that I honestly believe can be something that allows you to never run out of influence in your life. And to do that, what we often do in these parts of the message is we jump right into what happened in the New Testament, what happened with Jesus, what he said, these life principles that we can learn so much from. And we often look at what the apostles of the earlier church and what Jesus said. And today, I want to unpack it a little bit differently. And instead of looking at what they said, I want to look directly at what Jesus did. the lifestyle that he modeled, because there's something that he did over and over and over again to make sure that his influence never ran out. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, why would we look at the person of Jesus if we're talking about influence? And the reason is really because Jesus, I would argue, is the most influential person in history. And it's not very difficult to argue this. We think about the impact of Jesus in history and in culture and in our life, and then you look at what he had available to him and how he did it. Jesus walked around for 3 years. 3 years. That's like sophomore to senior, 3 years. That's a short amount of time in the grand scheme of our life. He walked around for 3 years and just speaking to people, and he did it within a 70-mile radius. That's Liberty Hill to San Marcos. He did it within that kind of geographic radius, and in just 3 years, walking around in that geographic radius, he made the impact he did, and not only that, but he did it all with first-century technology. Right? There was no like, Jesus said something and then it's trending 5 minutes later. Or Jesus said something and then there's a news notification. No. There were no cars. There were no planes. It was spoken words to crowds of people. Imagine that. And then you look at what has happened in our world as a result of the life that Jesus lived. I mean, gosh, our calendar is literally different today because of Jesus. Not only this, but there are billions of people who celebrate Christmas and Easter every year because of his life and death and resurrection. And I would argue there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of them, that perhaps don't even believe in it, but it's just become a cultural holiday. There are billions of Christians in the world that believe Jesus was the Son of God. Not only that, but there are teachings of Jesus woven in our society like we can't even begin to understand in the U.S. Constitution. Did you know that the words of Jesus are written at the bottom of the UT Tower right this very second? His influence is like no other in history. And so if we're going to try to discover what does it look like to never let our influence jar run out, we can look at the life of Jesus and learn some really valuable principles. And so we're going to look at something that he did time and time again between kind of the big influential moments of his ministry. Look at this. We're just going to hit a few of these really fast. Here's what he does. After he had sent the crowds away, after this big influential moment, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And when it was evening, he was there alone. So after this big influential thing that happened in his life, Jesus leaves the crowd, leaves his disciples, and he goes away to be by himself and pray. Mark describes it like this. After bidding them farewell, he left for the mountain to pray. Another one, Luke describes it like this. It was at this time that he went off to the mountain to pray, and he spent the whole night in prayer to God. These are different times when Jesus is doing this. Mark describes it at another point like this. In the early morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went away to a secluded place and was praying there. Luke kind of summarizes it. But Jesus often withdrew from lonely places to pray. You're probably seeing a trend here, right? But what happens is we open the Gospels and we read through them and we kind of breeze past these things. But when you look at how often this happens, it is astounding to see how often Jesus took time away. And there are two big principles that we learn here. There's one really broad and there's one more specific principle. The first broad one is this, is that Jesus had influence on these crowds. So he would pour out his influence onto these crowds, and then he would go away, and he would take time alone to allow his influence to fill back up before he would go out and pour his influence out again. Which shows us, and this is kind of the first big principle we have from Jesus, that the greatest influence you can give the world is the best version of you. That Jesus took time away to be the best version of himself, to take it and have the influence that he did on the world. The best version of you is not the version of you that's like 4 hours of sleep, was on TikTok all night, and now, you're eating all these different things, and you're tired, and you're stressed with homework, and procrastinating. That's not the best version of you. The best version of you is like firing on all cylinders. You're content. You have peace. It's like the version of you that's living life, enjoying life like no other. And that's the best version of you. And Jesus is demonstrating that when we take the best version of us over and over and over again, it allows us to fill up our influence jar and pour it out on our hopes, our dreams, our desires, the things that we want to have influence over. And so it begs the question, what does the best version of you look like? What does the best version of you look like? Perhaps it's different for everybody in this room. Perhaps for you, it's spending time with people kind of fills up your jar. Maybe coming to Inside Out fills up your jar and allows you to be a better influencer in your life. Maybe it's sports, maybe it's family, whatever it might be. There are probably a list of things that you do to fill up your jar that allow you to be the best version of you. For me, there's kind of a list of things, and I'm going to be up front and say I'm an introvert, and I'm kind of an old soul, and so people tell me, my list of things might be a little bit boring, but it's the things for me that just fill up my soul like no other. And the first is this, is being in nature for me, just like fills up my jar. I took this picture while I was on a run in Brushy Creek, and I just had this moment where I had to stop and go, oh my gosh, it's so quiet, and the noise of the world just went away. It was so filling for me. Reading for me, going to a coffee shop and just reading a good book, that's filling for me. Going to the gym, exercising, I love doing that. That's filling for me as well. A big one for me that has become just friends. And you guys have probably experienced this too, just being with friends. This was a trip that I took with a bunch of guys for Josh Montoya's bachelor party. And it was a blast. We snowboarded and skied for like 3 days. And I remember coming home, and we were driving home, and I was physically exhausted. But like mentally and emotionally, I was so full. It was so fun. Just spending that time was so filling. One of my favorite things is, when I get home, I get on the patio, this usually happens. This comes up to me, and this is Breck. And Breck loves to play ball, but he really likes to just show me the ball and then run away and then show it to me again and then run away. That's kind of what he does. And so I like to go home and sit on the patio, and Breck comes over and gives the ball, and I wrench it from him, and I throw it, and we do this whole thing. And that's filling for me. And then one of probably the biggest ones, saving the best for last, is spending time with my wife, Ashley. This is Ashley, and I love her. I love my marriage. And honestly, when I get to spend quality time with her, it's the most filling thing in my life. Those are a lot for me. I use those examples to perhaps help you identify what those things are for you, maybe a list of things that you do to contribute to be the best version of you. But my question is, what are those things, and what does it look like for you to put those things on repeat in your life? Like I mentioned, there's a lot of different ones for all of us, but there is one specific one that is true and common for all of us, no matter where you're from. And see, Jesus shows us this. I want to go back to that verse in Luke. Here's what it says. It says, but Jesus often withdrew from lonely places to pray. To pray. See, Jesus often withdrew from lonely places to pray and invite God into his life. Now think about this. Jesus is the Son of God. But in his humanity, he still invited God into his life on a regular basis, time and time and time again. Why? Because Jesus wanted to stay connected to the source of life, his relationship with his Father. And Jesus demonstrates to us what God is in the Old and the New Testament. God is described as like a living water. It is like a well, a stream, a river that never ever, no matter what happens in life, no matter what circumstances are going on, no matter how busy we are, it is a stream, it is a river that never runs dry, that we can go to time and time and time and time again, a source of life. And Jesus shows us that the best version of you starts with an intentional, growing relationship with God. The most important thing you can do to influence your hopes and dreams and desires is to bring the best version of you to the table. But the most important thing you can do to be the best version of you starts with an intentional, growing relationship with your heavenly Father. I realize this probably kind of lands in a lot of different places. Maybe you're in here and you would say, Jeremy, I don't even know what a relationship with God means. And if that's you and you're like, I don't even know if God exists, wherever you're at, I just want you to say, I'm so excited and I'm so grateful that you're here at Inside Out, because honestly, I think just being here is you beginning to ask those questions and exploring what God looks like in your life. And my encouragement to you would just be to stay on that path, continue exploring and asking those questions, coming back to Inside Out, because my hope for you is that you would discover a living water, a source of life that is greater than anything you've ever experienced before. But if you're in here and you've been a Christian for a while, or you've been coming Inside Out for a while, or you've been doing the Jesus thing for a while, oftentimes what happens is I've been on the other side of students, both in my small group and just for a while now, is eventually we get to a point where we kind of go, you know what, I want something more, right? And I'll have students come to me and they'll say, hey, what's more? Like, I've been coming to InsideOut, I've been looking for, what's more? And my first question to them, always, because I know it's the most important thing for the best version of them and for them to grow, my first question with them is this, how's your TWG going? How's your TWG going? And TWG is time with God. How is your time with God going? And what I often experience on the other side is, well, it's been a couple months, and I haven't really, and I kind of forgot. And essentially, I just want to point anybody who's in that scenario back to really kind of what Jesus models for us. The best version of you starts with an intentional, growing relationship with God. And you can't grow in a relationship with somebody without spending time with them. I've been together with Ashley for 11 years. We've been married for 5 now. And I can honestly say, I discover new things about her, and she discovers new things about me every single week, every single month, every single day. It is like this growing relationship that I never thought possible, but it's a result of spending time together over and over and over again. And if you want to grow in your relationship with God, it happens by spending time with Him. Now, oftentimes, I think this gets construed a little bit like, well, what does time with Him look like? What does that mean exactly? And do I need to drop my head? Like, what do I need to do to spend time with God? And I think to kind of try to clarify what it is and kind of open you up to perhaps take some steps in your time with God, I want to start by explaining what time with God is not. Time with God is not a perfectly consistent and focused destination where we legalistically read the Bible, pray, and go on with our day. It's not perfect. We aren't meant to be perfect. Jesus was perfect. It's not this perfectly legalistic, consistent, I stay focused. I don't think about anything else. When I pray, I make sure I stay focused. No. It's not that. It's not what it is at all. It's not a destination. It's not a check box just to be checked each and every day. That's where legalism comes in, and we lose sight of the whole reason for it in the first place. That's how we often approach it, though, and perhaps we need sometimes a reset on what time with God each day looks like in our life. And here's how I would define it. This isn't the perfect definition, but here's how I've experienced this and would define it in my life. Is that time with God is a lifelong journey of conversing with God while reading about His story in history to better understand Him and ourselves while being renewed from the inside out every single day. It is a lifelong journey. When the more you learn about God, the more you learn about how much you don't know about Him. Right? Because He is infinite. He is greater than anything that we can possibly imagine. It's a lifelong journey because it's not like, oh, I've arrived. I'm good with God now. No. It is lifelong pursuing, spending time, growing in a relationship with Him. Just like a marriage relationship. You don't go, you know what? We're good now. No, you continually pursue that relationship. It is lifelong conversing with God. It is saying, hey, God, here's what's going on in my life. Here's what I'm wrestling with. Here's what I'm struggling with. And then what's amazing is over time, you begin to kind of experience God speaking back to you. One of the ways you do this is by reading His story in history. It is the greatest story ever written. In the Old Testament and the New Testament, the Bible literally described as God's words to us. It is words to us. When we say, I don't know how to hear God's words in my life, we'll read His words given for us in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Not only this, but as you do, you learn things about Him and you learn things about you. And it's like this renewal happens from the inside out in your heart and your soul and your mind as you discover more and more and more about Him and more about you. That's what time with God looks like. That's how you become the best version of you. And that's how you influence the things in your life. You bring the best version of you to the world each and every day. It starts with your relationship your Heavenly Father. It's beautiful. It's so deep and amazing, and it just brings to life so many things you didn't know about you and God. See, what happens is with God being called the source of life, what happens when you begin to spend time with God is it's like all of a sudden this water that you've never experienced before begins to fill up your influence jar. And then you spend more time with Him, and it fills up your influence jar even more. And then you spend more time with him, and all of a sudden you're going, oh my gosh, God, you're teaching me so many things I didn't know about myself, so many things I didn't know about the world, so many things I didn't know about you. God, this is amazing. And then you spend more time with him over and over and over again, and the relationship, it's like all of a sudden he begins to become greater, and his influence in your life overflows into so many areas that you never thought possible. And you just continue to spend time with him. And throughout your entire life, this is what God does when you spend time with him on a regular basis. And this is how you bring the best version of you to everything you've ever experienced in your life and everything you will experience. Why? Because Jesus demonstrates for us, not in what he said, but in how he lived his life, the greatest influence you can give the world is the best version of you. Not only that, but the best version of you starts with an intentional, growing relationship with God. Imagine what would happen in your school, in Camp 75 this summer, in your small group, in your family, in your future careers, with wherever you're going in life. Imagine if it started right here. Imagine what God would do. That's my hope and my prayer for everybody in here. Would you pray with me? God, we are so thankful, first and foremost, that we even have the opportunity to have a relationship with you. That through Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, that we get to kind of close that gap. You close that gap, and when we believe that and accept that, God, you make this incredible, life-giving relationship available. God, let us not go on another day without inviting you in. You are the source of life. You are the living water. Let us experience that and feel that in our life. Let us spend time with you. Teach us about us. Teach us about you. God, we thank you for your son, Jesus. In his name we pray. Amen. You guys can break to small groups. Thanks again for being here at Inside Out. We'll see you guys next week.